The next morning, Jango Fett was awakened by Miles Scarrata. He was almost in a panic. Jango hurried to get his armor on, as was tradition to not be seen without wearing your colors in some way. He rushed out of his hut to see a crowd gathered around Kylo Ren's hut. He pushed everyone aside to see what was going on. He didn't even get inside before he knew. Kylo Ren had been murdered. His body lay half in and half out of his hut, but his head was missing. Not just removed from his body, missing completely. However, his complete armor was still hanging on his bed, complete with his helmet. Today, on Star Wars Fanatic. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave a comment, and share it with a couple friends. By doing this, you help my channel grow, and I appreciate that. Jaster Muriel was already in Kylo Ren's hut, along with Montross. Jaster seemed to be questioning Montross about what had happened. Montross did what Montross does. He was being very defensive, shouting and waving his hands about, his square jaw rigid and eyes squinted. "How dare you accuse me of this? Yes, I wanted to kill him when he came to us, but I would never go against your orders." But Jango wondered. Rax Lark had been standing watch over his hut. How did anyone get through without an alarm being sounded? It had been expressively ordered that no one was to go in or out of Ren's hut without the approval of Jaster Muriel himself. As Jaster and Montross stood arguing, Jango pushed his way through the crowd to find Rax Lark. Was he already questioned, or was Jango the first to think of this? If so, this was sloppy. But Jango couldn't find him anywhere. Rax was a quiet guy who held the ideals of Super Commando Codex and the Rezalnair very close. He was a true Mandalorian through and through. It was not like him to just disappear. It especially was not like him to just murder a prisoner and run away. Jango decided to return to Rax's hut to see if there were any clues to his disappearance in there. He searched everywhere, but found nothing. Just as he was about to exit the hut, Silas and Miles Scarrata entered. "The same idea we had, huh? What do you make of this, Jango?" Jango replies calmly, "I'm not sure, but what brings you here?" Silas was usually the talker of the two, and Miles generally let him answer for both of them. Silas acknowledged that they wondered how anyone could slip through Rax Lark while he was on duty. As far as putting someone on watch goes, Rax was the best for the job. It was like he never slept, and he saw and heard everything. But now he was missing. The trio decided to take this to Jaster. It seems he was questioning the wrong guy. Upon returning to Kylo Ren's hut, they could hear Jaster and Montross arguing from outside. A lot of the team had grown tired of listening to it and was either sitting around or left the scene entirely. Jango and the Scarrata brothers entered the hut, where Ren's headless body still lay, and approached Jaster. Jango put his hand on Jaster's shoulder and told him he thinks he has the wrong guy. Jaster paused for a moment and very sharply replied, "I do not have the wrong guy. Montross knows something. He knows what happened to Rax Lark and Kylo Ren, but will not talk." Montross just shook his head. "I've told you a million times, I know nothing about this." Jango had to backtrack for a moment. "So you know Rax is missing?" Jaster looked at Jango like he was stupid. "Of course I know Rax is missing. I didn't put my best watch on the door to not account for him missing the next day." Jaster then looks at Montross. "I'm tired of talking to you. Jango, Miles, Silas, put him in the brig. Shackle his hands and his feet. Montross, you are under arrest for the murder of prisoner Kylo Ren and the disappearance of Rax Lark, and you will remain in custody until this investigation is over." Montross didn't go without a struggle, but he knew it was pointless to resist as there were too many to fight all of them. He settled down and went with the trio peacefully. But something didn't make sense to Jango. If Montross did this, why was he still there? Why didn't he run? The only possible answer he could come up with was that he had nowhere to go. He was high profile. The Death Watch knew him all too well, and the Hutt cartel had a price on his head for what he had done to one of their own. Even though Montross's safety was almost guaranteed in their little organization, it still didn't make sense. Montross was a good fighter, but he didn't think things through before he acted and would often go off impulse rather than reason. So if he did this, he would have fled, not considering this was the only place he was safe. Django put Montross in the ray-shielded cell. Montross seemed to resign himself to it and just sat quietly. The next day it came, a single Mandalorian fighter bearing the markings of Death Watch. It had been a while since the true Mandalorians had a run-in with them, but not for lack of trying. Both sides had been in their hidden worlds, scanning different areas looking for each other. Out walked none other than Tor Vizsla from the fighter. Django watched as the man who killed his family casually strolled down the ramp with a confidence and arrogance that made Jango Fett want to destroy him where he stands. Jaster saw the visible anger in Django and put his hand on his shoulder. "Calm yourself, son. You will get your chance." Tor had a small security detail with him, including young Ursa Wren, who was no more than maybe 14 years old. Jaster, Django, Silas, and Miles were there to greet them with the security team. Tor exclaimed, "If you are going to kill one of ours, make sure we do not know where he is at all times. I am here to talk, nothing more." Jaster nods his head, and the team led Tor into Jaster's hut. Tor Vizsla begins the conversation as both sides enjoy some Corellian wine. "I had a tracking device on Kylo Ren. I knew he wasn't killed in hut space. He was acting funny his last days with us." Then Ursa spoke up. "My brother had told me he didn't agree with all of Death Watch's ideals, just before he was sent to scan this system. Tor wanted to send all available here to kill you all, but I talked him into a meeting instead. It doesn't make sense that you would kill my brother, especially if he had come to join you." Jaster nodded. "You are correct. We are in the middle of an investigation. What has happened to your brother is unfortunate, and I was also sorry to hear about the loss of your father. He was a great Mandalorian." Ursa acknowledged his kind words and asked if they could take his body home with them. Jaster nodded and told her it would be his pleasure to return the body to them. As the members of Death Watch boarded their fighter, Tor Vizsla turned to the group. "There is nowhere left for you to hide, where we cannot find you." Moments later, 5 more fighters appeared and began shooting into the crowd of true Mandalorians. Jetpacks ignited and the group dispersed into the air to meet the threat head-on. From the back of the fighters, 3 to 4 Mandalorians jumped out with jetpacks of their own roaring. Django watched as Tor Vizsla's fighter tried to leave the atmosphere. It was just like him to run from a fight. Django flew up to meet the man who killed his family as fast as he could, but before Jaster could stop him. Tor's ship turned to meet his aggressor and shot 2 blasts from the front-mounted blasters. One shot landed in Django's shoulder, penetrating his armor. As Django plummeted to the surface of Nevarro, he could feel the burning pain the blaster had put into his shoulder. Seeing this all develop, Jaster launched upward to catch him and bring him to safety on the ground. Jaster laughed at Django. "This is not your first time being wounded." Django replied, "I saw something. Someone. I'll explain later." It was obvious this battle was only meant to cover Tor's escape from Nevarro. As soon as his fighter left the atmosphere, the others retreated as well. They would take no chance of having their leader, presumed alone, to be shot down. The words of Tor Vizsla were true, though. The true Mandalorians needed to leave Nevarro. They were now on the defensive, as they have been for most of this civil war. As Django healed aboard their own fighter, Jaster asked him what he had seen. Django's response was that he wasn't sure. Just after being hit by Tor's blaster, he thought he saw his sister in the cockpit of the ship. He did acknowledge that he could have been hallucinating from the shock of being hit and the pain. It was only a quick glimpse before he began to fall. With a mournful look, Jaster told Django it would have been impossible. Tor Vizsla did not believe in foundlings. if you were not born into the Mandalorian society, he would not take you in. His sister was most likely killed by Tor Vizsla the day Jaster found Jango. Okay, so that's part 3 of my Jango Fett and Jaster Mereel fanfiction, based off of Open Seasons and the Bounty Hunter video game. I'm going to make this an ongoing series with at least one of these episodes per week. That is, until we get some kind of canon Jango Fett backstory. I'm having a lot of fun making these and plan to continue. Let me know what you think of the story so far in the comments below. I'm also going to start doing live streams on Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the US, as well as continue my Saturday morning live streams at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I really enjoy talking with you all, and it has been a load of laughs doing these live streams. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date on all of my Jango Fett, Boba Fett, Mandalorian, and general Star Wars theories, fanfictions, and discussions. Also, hit the thumbs up and share the video to show your love for the hard work I put into this video and every other video. And thank you for watching, and remember, this is the way, the only way.